Hi everyone, I'm on the floor here at Rivercrest Cottage, and why? Because it is seed sowing day. Oh, my patience is finally, well, I can't say paying off because I won't know until these seeds actually grow and I see if it's any better than what I did last year. So last year I started some things quite early. And you could tell they were straggly, they weren't very healthy, so I'm trying so hard to make sure I'm not starting seeds too early, despite the fact that we have an absolutely glorious day. It's absolutely beautiful out here, and here I am sitting on the floor cleaning my little area and, well, trying to get it set up for my seed starting. So I'll show you the entire setup because these shelves are here all the time. They're in my kitchen, and that's one of the problems I have. I don't have a greenhouse, so I need to start my seeds indoors. My basement is way too cold to have anything growing in there. It's very dark, and we can have lots of snow, and I can't get into it very easily. So it's in the house, and so I like it to look a certain way as well. These shelves I use typically, but I've cleaned them all off of the stuff that I normally store on that. That'll go downstairs for a little while we are trying to germinate some seeds. So what you're looking at is we have our heat mats, which are slowly warming. Yes, there they go. They are slowly warming. These are great little heat mats. I love them. I love how they're flat, they're thin, and they flattened out really easily. My last year one always had these bumps in it because it was so heavy duty plastic and it never really got flat, but not having problems with these this year. So I love those. So I have two sets of them. Then you also see these are metal shelves that I have set up. And then right underneath here is probably something that I really want to show you. And that is my lighting system. Now for germinating seeds, there's some seeds that want no light to germinate, and there's others that light is essential or they want it. But it's more about that soil temperature than even the light, because the thought process, if the soil's warm enough, that means there's enough sunlight out there to sustain these little plants when they start growing. So what I've used right here, and I'll take this one off, as you can see, it's just a little strip light. It is a grow light. It has the pinks and blues and some other colors, which doesn't make for really pretty colors here in the house at night. But, you know, we all have to make our choices, right? But the best thing about it for me is they come with these little magnet attachments. And what that allows is, because I have metal shelves, they're firmly up there. The challenge that I have, though, is that, and this is what kind of got me last year, when you have plants and they're growing, not germinating, that's a different thing, but once they start growing, so they have sprouted and they start growing, the challenge that we have is that you should have your seedlings really close to your lights. And I would have to put other shelves in here or build it up in some different way. So that's why I'm using this as a seed germination, because I have a new setup that I'll be showing you, and it's across the way over here when we get to that portion of where I'm going to be growing my seeds. So it's a different station than this, which is where I'm germinating or sprouting my seeds. But I have two lights, and what's really nice is they hook together, as you can see here. They then go down, and I hook to the bottom ones here, because there's two more down here. Two more strip lights down here. They all hook together, and then I have one plug that I'm needed for it. The other thing I like about these is that they have a timer, and that's for turning them on and off. So let me take you around the corner and show you that. So this, which all these wires, is a little bit of a downside to all this, because again, I'm in my kitchen and it can be seen. But I recently purchased a strip, so it's an electric strip that actually has a timer built in it. So the sockets on this side that you see that I already have plugged in, that's my seed growing station, or I should say my plant growing station, or my seedling growing station. I already have things plugged in, because this side, these four strips here are on a timer. These four here are not. So if this is on, this is the way that I keep the heat mats going, because the heat mats need to be consistently on. My lights only need to be on from anywhere from 14 to 16 hours a day, but the heat mats need to stay on all the time. So because I only have, one electrical socket over here, it's kind of nice because I'll just be able to put these in here and then the electrics will be all plugged in and ready to go. So again, these are my two going here to my heat mats. Put that just there for there. And then these are going over to my lights on my other side, and they're on timers, but these are not. So these should be starting to warm up because I do have that already on. So we'll see how that works. Now my lights on the germination station, back over here, the light situation here, now that has a timer. Let me take you over there. These lights come with a timer, which is really convenient. I'm gonna move you. Woo. All right, and that's the timer right there. And the timer says anywhere from, it goes from 3 hours to, is that 19? 15 hours. And so and it has where you can, so that's on and off. Then I can brighten it, dim it. So this is the dimmest, brighter, brighter, brightest. And then I can set for the time. And I just do that, and now it's set for 16 hours. Hopefully you can see that. So this is my seed germination station ready for the next part. So let's go get that part, which is actually putting the seeds in and coming back, and I'll show you the trays and how I'm going to be setting them up for this. So whew, this little corner is taken care of. And until I get some germination, I'm not going to bother showing you the other seed setup, where I'm actually going to be growing them. We'll kind of do it as the progress happens. But for now, we've got it set up with our heating mats, which should be starting to heat. Are they? I think so, yep. They should be. But I'll come check them again. And we've got our lights that are going as well. So we're almost set. Hi everyone, how you doing up there? How's the weather? Down here, it's still a little chilly, but lots of sunshine. Well, not in the basement. And that's where we're at. Yeah, we're down at the Rivercrest Cottage basement, down at my potting table. And today the whole plan is to try to get some of my seedlings going. And I had this brilliant idea. I was going to make my own potting mix, because I was like, oh, all the seed starting mix comes in plastic bags, and I want to try to be using less plastic, and it's next to impossible when you're a gardener. Just saying. Whew. Anyway, but I was trying, and I thought, well, if I make my own, maybe the components that I get won't come in plastic. Okay, try finding these things in no plastic. So I need vermiculite. Comes in plastic. I need CocoCoir. Each brick wrapped in plastic. Not even just the one big box. It's each bag, each little brick. So I was trying, but I think next year I'll just buy seed starting mix and be done with it, and hope somebody comes up with a better alternative. As gardeners, you want to be as eco-friendly as you possibly can be and aware, but it is really tough anymore. So I really don't know what I'm going to be doing. I don't know how to get coconut coir, which is fantastic. I added it to my seed starting mix last year, and I think it really makes it very aerable, and also makes it very light, so those roots can really get out without having to fight. And it holds a good amount of moisture without being soggy and rotting. So it has all these positives, and you can use it in your garden. You can use it as top dressing. And this is actually from the coconut husks, the fiber and then they compress it into a brick. And that's what this looks like once you take it out of the blooming plastic. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to rehydrate some CocoCoir so that this will be the base of it's basically almost a soilless mix is the idea for my germination. We're going to add this. We're going to have a little bit of vermiculite, and we're going to add worm castings as a organic future fertilizer. So your seeds don't need fertilizer to start. They really don't. They have it all in that little tiny seed. That's all their nutrients they need to get going. But once they get growing, of course, they might need some extra help. And the worm casting that I've got is organic and going to be easier for my plants to take up without hopefully burning them. So that's the idea. So what we're going to do first, let me get you positioned where you're looking straight down. So as you can see here, I put the coir in a bucket, and then I'm just going to pour, and this is just warm water, and I just start putting it over it. Now this takes a while, but I'll just show you on the top part what happens. And I'm using warm water because it's cool outside, and I want my hands to be warm instead of cold. So you can start seeing it's already starting to kind of expand with the water. So if I bring that out, you can see that it's starting to expand. So if we look at the one that was wrapped, see, it's already starting to expand, and the coir just starts coming off. Now this does take a little while. I'm not going to have you sit. This would be like watching paint dry. So we're going to go ahead and keep pouring water down in here. This pitcher should be absorbed by the coconut coir and continue to be able to be broken up. So I will be doing that. And you know what I should have done is left some water in to rinse my hands. But this is really great stuff. I love how easy it is to store because you can get it in these smaller bricks. And so I really appreciate the storing capability. I do go ahead and break them up because of course I want to get working with my seeds and getting those planted as soon as possible. You could just leave this and come back about 5 or 10 minutes later. But I get to go up and go get some more water because down here we don't have a water faucet in the basement. I see the water lines, but we don't have a water faucet. So in the future that would be something I would look at. If we have a plumber come out, maybe I'll have them do like a sink down here. But that probably means, well, we can do a drain. That'd be fairly easy. All right, so I'm gonna go get some more water. Now, I don't know if I'll do this whole block today, just because I don't know that I need it. And that's one thing I like about it. So if I just kind of keep rubbing it, I'll get all the loose. And we already have quite a lot. And I can always make up more if need be. So mainly what we're going to be doing is you put that soil, it's a 1-to-1 kind of ratio. So you just find something that you're going to use, which I'm going to use this can, fill it up with the coir. And it doesn't matter if your coir is dry or wet. It needs to be no longer in the block, but that's fine. So then I'm just going to put that. That's 1 can of that. And then I'm going to open. I'm sorry. It's 2-1-1. Sorry, not 1-1-1. So it's 2 parts coir to 1 part vermiculite and 1 part earthworm castings. So worm castings. There we go. Vermiculite into the crinkly old plastic. In there. I'm just going to start mixing it up now. Worm castings. What is worm castings? Pop quiz. Yes. Worm poo. But it's also known by the gardeners as black gold. Now this was as close as I could get to a non-plastic. At least it looked like it. You know, I'm thinking, oh, it's some paper, yay. But of course, if you look on the inside of it, the whole inside basically It's more of a foil interior, and you still have the plastic closing lip, so you can't really see that. There you go. There's more of the foil, kind of. So, I mean, I think it's still a better choice than the big plastic, but there's still, it's not perfect. I couldn't compost this bag with that plastic seal in there. Oh, no, why am I? Oh. Now I'm going to get the worm casting. It doesn't smell like poo or anything like that. It just smells like dirt. But I don't want to waste it either, so we're going to put the can in the bag. It's very dry, and the tilth on it's very, very fine, you can tell. So, very nice stuff. It's almost powdery. There we go. Now the other thing that's shocking is me finding these ingredients available to me in my area right now when I need them, which is, you know, seed starting. Almost all my nurseries are closed, so can't even buy local there. And most of them, in fact, when I went to look, you know, nobody had, you know, any of just these ingredients. Only one place did, and that was the Vermiculite. But otherwise, you know, it's slim pickings. They didn't have seed starting mix out or anything. So I don't know if that's changed. I have one local nursery that does stay open year round, which is nice. Otherwise, you know, you go into a big box store, but even then, so if I'm going to go to a big box store, I'm just going to get it on Amazon where I can read reviews, read ingredients, take my time. So sorry, and I don't understand. This is a huge gardening area, but they're very seasonal around here. I think most people get just starts, but because of the flowers that I want, those are not always an option. All right, so we have some soil to begin with, so that's good. And I still have lots of, I can't see it because it's dark in there. I mean, probably half of this still full of the coconut coir. So just that little bit, and you saw how much I still have left over. It makes a lot of the coconut coir. So I'm going to close everything up and get set up to start doing the seeds. Now, one thing that I will say is that this is pretty moist because the core is moist. And you should always start with a moist seed mix. It makes it easier. Your seeds are going to be really tiny in a lot of cases, and if you wait and try to water them at the end, you're going to move your seeds around. So imagine this is one little pot, and if I try to put a seed and I want it right there in the middle, and it's really tiny, and then when I go to pour, it moves it here or there. So if I have a bunch of little seeds in there, they all get moved, and pretty soon you only have plants growing on in the four corners or off to the side, and it's not really ideal. So that's one of the reasons why they say to go ahead and, you know, go ahead and water your seed mix. Now this is a little too dry. I'd like it to hold together a little bit more. So I'll put just a little bit of water in here. I still have some, and I'll mix it around. Really, you get a towel down here. Okay, off to go find something to wipe my hands on that isn't my jeans. Or is it? All right, so for all my talk of not wanting to use plastic and things like that, it is, like I said, next to impossible to not use plastic in gardening these days. Not because I don't try, but largely because what happens is you try to use no plastic, and then you realize you've bought plastic in the past. So what do? Well, you know what? You use it until it absolutely falls apart. Now, when I did buy plastic, I was very, very conscious of what type of plastic I was buying, and I wanted it to last. I didn't want to be replacing it. And so what I've done is I have a full kind of seed starting process. And I had went out and bought a bunch of little pots. Now these are about the pots of the same size that you would get if you did one of those little 6 sets. So as you can see, they have amazing drainage, which also means they're great for watering from the bottom up. And that's what I'm doing this year differently than I've done in the past. I'm really going to try to do the bottom up. So you put water in a tray underneath them and they soak the water up to aid hopefully in not having as much possible mold develop on the top, which can kill your plants. Also to kind of keep the amount of water more on a consistent basis of what they need. So I have, like I said, I bought a whole bunch of these. These are the type of containers that succulents usually come in. So it's that size if you have any succulents. The next round. Now these are my little guys, and I just need to fill them all up. This is the therapeutic part. This is the part that's relaxing. I'm not stressed. They haven't sprouted yet. Full of potential. Everything is set up, I think, perfectly well, right? You know, and so everything's going to grow. This is where the most optimism in a gardener's life is right here. Once I put the seed in, the pessimistic side of a gardener starts talking in the gardener's ear, and it's not very pleasant. Alright, so there's the first round, the first batch. And now I've got to bring out my handy dandy seed organizers. Now these are all ones that say sowed indoors 10 weeks before last frost. And this one is sow indoors 12 weeks before last frost. We're at 11 weeks. Some of these I need to go ahead and get into there. So like the artichokes you can sow any from 12 to 10 weeks. And so some of these I'm going to go ahead because next week I don't have opportunity for putting anything in. So I'm going to look through and see which ones I'm going to go ahead. And there are also ones that I know I can put out fairly early, even if it's still, you know, pretty cold outside. And that's mostly like your kales. So I love kale particularly. And I really want to try to grow more of my greens this year because I just eat them all the time. I put them, you know, between salads and just cooking and sauteing. They've really been amazing. I have ways to make this a backup. Kale is always for sale around here, so if these don't work, then I can always go ahead and pick up starts. And starts are when the nurseries actually grow them. So I'm just doing this kind of to see if I can get it started. And so their seeds are kind of small. They're pretty tiny. The little seeds rolling around. So I need to be a little bit careful. I'm going to go ahead and sow multiple ones in each and then thin out. But I do kind of want them to be more in the center. So we'll see. And then you thin out. Just pushing down ever so slightly. Now, another reason I love these little containers, and this is something I wanted to kind of mention, is when you buy like those cell packs where there's like 6 in a cell, one of the challenges is that if a cell nothing comes up, reusing them is a bit of a challenge. Or starting something else in them is a bit of a challenge because they're attached to ones where you might have stuff already growing. And because of that, I love these because I can constantly interchange them. So if something doesn't come up or something comes up and dies, I then have the opportunity to take this individual cell, this one like this, and go empty it out and start over with something. And I think that that's kind of neat. Now, this kale is something I could sow directly outdoors at some point too, or I can wait and also have another round in the fall. So we'll see. We'll see if anything comes up. Now, this is the important part. You've got to label them. Now, one of the things that I do is I like having things all in one row. So I usually do 5. Sorry, I usually do 5 in a row this way, and that will also mirror up in the growing thing. So all I need to do, instead of putting in 5 of these sticks, so I just use tongue depressors or popsicle sticks, whatever you call them, and I'll just write on it, what is today's date? I hope I'm just going to write 3, 7, yep, 3, 7, and it's Dino Broccoli. No, Dino Kale. And I will just stick it right in one of these, and I know it's for this whole row. But it is important that you put in your markers because they all look the same. All right, done already on my artichoke. Now this is interesting. These are nodding pink onions. I got these, I think, last year actually. And I don't know that I even tried them. They were open, but I think I tried a direct sow. I did a bunch of direct sowing kind of just randomly last year. And not tons of it really. It didn't impress me. I didn't end up like with tons. But these are nodding pink onions, so. And these are pretty small. I think I'll just finish them out. Maybe. Ooh, that's a lot. I'm just going to give them and put them. I do put the dates so that I also know to go back and check, and I keep all the packets so that I can go check to see how many days till germination. So this one is more kale. This is hybrid kale from Johnny's. I really love kale for in the garden as just as a plant itself. I think it's quite pretty. The dino kale gets kind of weird. It grows up really tall. So I really like that one more for eating, but it's still a very pretty plant. That's all you have to be in my garden. Just be pretty. And best of luck to you growing. I kind of I have appearance of looking like I'm a very successful gardener, and that's just because I do sheer numbers. You know, if you put enough plants in one spot, something's going to grow. Nature will find a way. It will. All right. All right, so that's all my little vegetable type seeds. So I kind of split things between vegetable and not vegetable, can't think of it now. Flowers, thank you. I don't have many flowers that I can start quite yet, but the ones that I do have, I'm very excited about. I have a Viola, Gem Pink Antique. These are all from Floret Farms. Beautiful, beautiful little seed bag, what are these? Seed packet. That's what they are. They're seed packets. All right. Now we're going to start with my little foxglove here. And this is really cool because foxglove are itty bitty teeny tiny little. And what they've done is, if you can see, they are pelleted. So they've taken the seed and there's some type of white coating on it so that I can actually see them. So that I can open this up and I can make sure and sow them and know that that's what I sowed there. So there's not tons of seeds, but their little seeds are very powerful. They are an amazing plant. So I'm going to pour it out in my hand, and then we are going to try to very gently sprinkle. And it's neat because I can see them actually land.
And a lot of people are planting these around. Some of the gardening people that I watch, I can have already put their seeds in, and they've got the Dalmatian. A lot of people ordering from Floret this year. I did notice that. Viola Gem Pink. So I need to read this really quick. Oh Lord, I'm doing the old lady dancing. Where did I bring my glasses down? Yes, I did. Look at me. It looks like we're patting ourselves down. I just want to check. Yeah, so the violas you can have 8 to 12 weeks before last frost. Now they require darkness to germinate too, so I will be definitely covering them. It's funny, I don't feel any seeds in there. They are little bitty. These, aha, that's why I didn't feel them. So again, very small, tiny, tiny seeds. Most of your flowers are, but they did a nice job putting them in some plastic, or not plastic, it's wax paper envelope. So it's kept them all together down there, and that means that I can pour them out into my hand. And they are tiny, but again, they are light colored, which is good. And those seed packets opened really easily, and they've got a resealable lip area. So the idea is I should be able to do that and it'll stay resealed. That's really nice. Really, really nice seed packets. Very well. Same thing with the Foxglove. We have to get the violas definitely covered with Vermiculite. Now we can move on to the next step. Got too excited. So this is what I was talking about. You know, I have this large tray. It's plastic as well, but it has no holes in it. And this is where I will put those back in. As you can see here, I have the blank ones, which I'm going to leave down here because I'll be needing to do some more sewing in the next week or two, so they can go ahead and be down here. So the idea is that you actually put water in the tray. That's where you actually put the water for the plants, and then they absorb it up through the bottom of their pot. So I'm going to put these back in, keeping them in the rows because we don't want to lose that. So I'm just going to start right here. So here we go. We've got them started. These will go upstairs, and the other thing is it did come with a lid, so I'll just put that on for now. Kind of a humidity dome, which happens to be just exactly the height of my little stick, so that worked out well. We will take these upstairs and we'll get them set up. I'll give them a bit of a water from the top, and then you'll see me water from the bottom up there. They are pretty moist, but they're not, at the very top isn't, and I like to settle everything. So I have this lovely little, this is what I watered last year with, and I loved it. It's a little hand sprayer, but it does this beautiful light mist, and it reaches over to the pots, so you can see it kind of extends. This thing I absolutely love. And it doesn't wash the seeds around, but it will allow me to moisten the top. Now this is not how I'm going to continue to water. I will water from the bottom, but for settling them in right now, this is a great little tool. I love this little thing. And this will just help retain some heat for a while. Yep, beautiful. Perfect.
So this will help retain some of the warmth that the underside heating should be transferring up. And hopefully we'll get germination pretty quickly. I will be interested. I'll go through the packs in a little while and note down in my calendar when I should start seeing germination. And we'll see if anything comes up. Like I said, this is all the hope of a gardener. And this is why gardeners are hopeful, because we wouldn't do this if we didn't think something would come up. So, all right, let me take it upstairs.